Hi, I'm Chris Carlson Hot Rods out of Mulvane, Kansas, in Wichita, just south of Wichita, Kansas. This is a 1953 Chevy Bel Air that we built about a year ago. This car was actually brought to us by a guy out of up by Kansas City, Missouri. He's owned this car since the early 60s. He bought it in 63. Matter of fact, he has the date and how much. I think it was June 20th, and he paid $245. He had to make payments on it. It was his high school car. So he bought this car, drove it all through high school. He was lucky he got that lottery for Vietnam. You know how those guys really did not like that lottery, but he did his duty. He went off. He was there for 4 years, came back. His mom and dad kept the car in their garage and parked their stuff outside until son came home. So he came home, got to drive it, started a family, goes back into the garage for a while. After he has a family, his son comes up and is at that age to start driving. They pull it out, they polish it up, they get a Mako paint job on it. It becomes a high school car for his son. Towards the end of his senior year, he ends up rear-ending somebody and smashing the whole front end. Car goes back into the garage, sits there for 26 years. Finally, son and dad are going to blow this car apart and they're going to do something with it. So they take it all apart. They did a great job bagging and tagging, and then they didn't know what to do. So they got a hold of us. We came and looked at it, told them, gave them some advice, what we ought to do. We ended up taking it back down to Kansas, get it bead blasted, pull the chassis out. The chassis was real good, but the rockers and all that were just shot to no end. So we got with our buddies over at TCI, said, hey, what do you got for this? They got a cool bolt-in front end. They had a 4-link setup that we could do. We used an 8.8 Explorer rear end with disc brakes. We used the GM brakes in the front and the Ford brakes in the back. We upgraded the pads to the Wheelwood pads so it stops nice. We did the Wheelwood underdash brake clutch system in it. Ended up throwing a LS3 crate engine with a 4L65E transmission to it, low car shifter in it, Dakota digital gauges. We did end up doing rocket wheels on it, chopped the top 2 inches. The customer always wanted to put a 51 Chevy back glass in it, so that's what we ended up putting in the back for it. So we rebuilt that whole cell panel coming down, reshaped all this stainless so it still has that original look to it. Just a little bit with more attitude, you know. All right, on this one, when we chop the top, my vision when I chop the top is I want it to look somewhat similar to factory. I don't like them when they're too squished or too, so I measure from the belt line, the bottom of the glass, to the very top of that roof. Then I measure from that belt line to the rocker. That thick part should be 2/3, the top should be 1/3. And that will tell you how tall that top should be. So if you want just that real nice look, like this one measured out to 2 inches. So we just chopped it 2 inches. If you want that overlook, you're gonna go 4 inches. But for this car, for this customer, and for what we liked, we wanted that 2-inch chop. So I always go ahead and run that top forward so those A-pillars are right, that windshield fits right, you don't end up getting weird gaps, you don't end up getting, unless you cut clear down at the cowl and lay everything back, it's weird to get the windshield in it. It just doesn't quite fit right. This one, my glass guy was able to cut off the bottom, slapped right in, it was easy. 2-inch, 2-inch. So that's why I do it that way. In the back is where I do all my work. This one was a lot of work because we were putting a totally different glass in it. The belt line had to be changed, it had to be rolled forward a little bit. We laid it down and we actually let that drop just a little bit to flow with that back glass. So then my oldest son, Drew, he's into doing all the metal work and stuff like that. So the cell panels coming down from that drip rail all the way to that back glass, that whole section coming down to that belt line has been made out of another piece of metal. So one piece of flat steel, English wheeled, shaped, curved, and I have Drew do all of that. He does a killer job, welds it in around the seams, welds it on the other side of the seams, done deal, looks killer. Smoothed up the front bumper, smoothed up the back bumper, and ended up Frenching and tagging the back bumper, smoothed the tailgate, welded the hood seam shut and added a peak to it, cleaned up the front nose, shaved the handles. So just a nice, clean hot rod. something you can jump into, drive across country with it, or just go to the grocery store. Kind of just smoothed up the dash, nothing crazy. Put a vintage air system in it to keep him cool. Added a console, 65 T-Bird seats in the front. Made the back seats kind of match it with the console going up through the center. A little bit more modern flair to it. That was his son's input, was that he wanted more modern, updated inside, not grandma's couch and pleats. So that kind of looks cool with it. We added the 54 Chevrolet headlight rings and the 54 Chevy taillights. It's a fun car, fun to drive. Really just a good, reliable car.
How many miles are on it now?
It's got 410 miles on it right now.
You guys put most of those on it?
I've put all of them on it. It's a fun car. You know, we started doing some shakedown with the customer. There's always little things you got to do. Adjust the suspension a little bit, adjust the air conditioning, adjust brakes, whatever. So as we've done that, we took it on a 225-mile round trip car show last weekend with it. And that car, there and back, no problems. It's ready to go home, ready for the customer. So we got with PPG and made this custom red paint. And then of course it's been blocked and polished, and you know, we got just as many hours in that as anything else. But I think it came up looking pretty slick. We got with, we like to take our stainless and have it chrome plated to match our bumpers and stuff like that. That way all the bright work looks the same. Ogden Chrome out of Utah did all the chrome work and bright work for us, and yeah, it all came together good. So the other two major things as far as custom work that we did was in the hood and the trunk lid. The hood, we took, it's an actual two pieces of metal that's bolted together and has a chrome strip that runs down it. We eliminated all that and we welded it together to be one hood, but we added a rod, gave it some shape, and gave it a little bit of a peak coming down, and then smoothed off that front nose. Just gives you a nice flow as it comes back. On the deck lid, he really wanted a third member tail light, and of course he comes to me with, hey, have you seen those big third member tail lights that go in the back window? And I said, no, we ain't doing that. So in the trunk, when we smoothed that off, and he didn't want a French tag in the middle of the trunk, he didn't like that. So we smoothed that whole trunk off. Up towards the top, before it radiused, we did an oval tail light. I made the lens, I made the diffuser, we made the LED boards that go inside of it, we made the box, we do all the shape. But when I put all that in, I sand that lens to the body. Then when we paint it, we paint the body, that comes off, it gets clear coated over, we sand it, we clear it a second time, and that just makes that tail light totally smooth, but it's right there in your face. It's a neat way of doing it without getting something gaudy or too big or too bulky in it. It flows with the car. So then, because of the tag in the back, we ended up putting a French tag in the chrome bumper when we smoothed up the chrome bumper, because we already knew we were having it chrome plated. So we got rid of all the bumper bolts, put a lightly French tag in there, dropped it down a little bit, came out looking pretty cool, I think. Steele Rubber, man, I'll tell you what, we have used every other company out there. I've got a car in the shop right now that guy bought some rubbers off of eBay, and well, the doors used to shut and they don't even latch now. Peel them off, adjust the doors out a little bit, call Steele, put a set of rubbers on it, door shuts perfect. So they can work through problems with you. Out of probably 40 or 50 cars that we've done, I've probably had 2 problems out of all of them. They're instantly ready to get you something different. Here's an alternative. What do you have? What do you need? Give me measurements. They can make it. Those guys just knock it out of the park every time for us, from body mounts to wing windows to door rubbers, felts, whatever you need, they can do it. You know, this was a cool car. We had a lot of fun with it. This is one of my favorite cars that I've done recently, with that real forward motion. When I see that car come around the corner, we'll be test driving it, we'll be driving it in a block or something. That car just looks like it's ready to launch. It sounds mean. MagnaFlow did a killer job on the mufflers. So it's been just a fun car to do. I hope you guys like it. I hope you'll come see us. Come check us out on our website at carlsonhotrods.com.